Hey guys, welcome back. Today on The Untidy Artist, we're making a winter fairy doll. I really wanted to do a fairy that you would be able to use as a decoration for all of the winter season and not just for Christmas. And I found this really beautiful faux fur trim at the craft store and saw it and thought this would make a really beautiful cape for a fairy. So that was kind of the inspiration behind this doll. I love how she turned out. She's sparkly and white and just really reminds me of snow and ice and the perfect winter day. So let's grab some supplies and get started. Now the first thing you're going to need is a fairy doll. If you're new to making fairies, check out my basic fairy doll tutorial. In that I teach you how to take a wooden bead, a piece of floral wire, and some embroidery floss and twist it into a fairy doll. Also, I've already styled this doll's hair. I've given her a braided updo. You'll also find that tutorial. I will put links for both of these tutorials in the comments below, but in that tutorial I teach you in detail how to do this hairstyle. Then you'll need some thread. I'm using a shinier thread, 2 different colors of blue. I've got some really pretty white flowers. I've noticed that craft stores have started carrying flowers that are a lot more decorative. This one had almost a brocade patterned part of it that I really liked. And then the other flower was just this beautiful white flower that already had the glitter on it. And then I found this stem. These are just blue shiny leaves that I really liked. And here's the faux fur that kind of inspired this entire tutorial. It's just a trim that I found. I got this at Michael's and I'll put a link below for this if I can find it. Then I have some stickers that are little rhinestones, and then I have these 2 cute little flowers. I'm not sure which ones I'll be using, but I thought they'd be a fun embellishment. I have my glue gun set on low and a sharp pair of scissors. Okay, let's get started. So the first step is obviously to create your doll. So once again, the link for that tutorial will be below. And then if you want to style her hair like the braided updo, I will also put that link below. Otherwise, you can just style her hair however you'd like. And then we're going to dress our doll. So I'm going to take the darker blue color of this shiny thread. This thread is a little bit trickier to work with, but it's so pretty that I think it's worth it. So I'm going to give her some long sleeves and a little pair of shorts. And just by adding a tiny dab of glue right in the center of the doll and starting to wrap up to underneath her arms and then all the way back down into the pair of shorts. And you'll find more detailed instructions on how to dress your doll in my basic fairy doll tutorial. And then once I have her dressed, I'm going to grab my lighter color of the blue thread and I'm going to wrap it around her waist to give her a belt. We'll just see a little pop of this lighter blue right above her skirt, and I liked the variation in the colors. And then I'm going to take my flowers and I'm going to start taking them apart. So just pull apart your flowers. And then we're going to start arranging the petals for her skirt. Now you can see that these different layers of this flower have different textures and different fabrics. I think they're just really pretty. I loved the brocade patterned part of this flower. Normally when you make a doll, you want the skirt to be the back side of the flower. So you want the skirt to fall down. But because I'm using that top side of these flowers, I kind of had to work the petals a little bit to make them go under. And then you can see the pretty ones I have here with the little glitter already on it. So once I have all of my flowers layered together for her skirt, I'm going to hold it up to my doll and see if I like it. And then I'm going to cut an X into all of my flower petals right in the middle by the hole so we can slip the petals up and around her waist. And then starting with the very smallest petals, we're going to slide those up and around the doll's waist, creating her skirt. I did spend a lot of time arranging how the petals laid on top of each other to give her a really pretty full skirt. And because this is a fuller skirt and it's long and fluffy, it did take me a while to arrange it just the way that I liked it. So kind of just arrange it as you go. And you can see those beautiful little bits of glitter that are already on the white flower petal. If you can't find one like this, use just a normal white flower petal, and you can just use some Mod Podge or your glue gun and put a little bit of sparkle at the bottom of the petals. So once my doll is all layered together, and you can see that beautiful brocade pattern is the very bottom layer of her skirt, I'm going to take my glue gun and using tiny dabs of glue, I'm going to tack the skirt together. So I put a tiny dab of glue in between each layer, and using my fingers just kind of press it together to hold that skirt in place. Once I got to this point, I decided that that front petal was a little bit too long, so I grabbed my scissors and I'm just going to give it a little trim. I took off just a little bit because you can always go back and cut off more, but I didn't want to cut it too short in the beginning. So I trimmed it and kind of just followed the natural line that was already on the flower petal, and I liked how that looked much better. Now I'm going to grab, I decided she needed shoes, so I'm going to grab that same color we put around her waist, and I'm going to give her a pair of shoes. The next step is to make our cape. So I'm going to take my faux fur, and I measured out 2 inches of it. And this is maybe a 1/2 inch wide, so it's 2 inches long. And what we're going to do is fold this in half over some flower petals to create our cape. So we'll just be sandwiching the flower petals in between that. So I just took one of the flowers I used for her skirt, and I cut it kind of in half. So I'm using 3 of the petals. And then I'm going to take those flower petals and I'm going to fold the 2 petals on the side under the top one. So I'm just folding it under, and I'm going to tack that down with a little bit of glue. So using a tiny dab of glue just right at the top, folding that outer petal underneath so that the middle petal is laying over the top. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side so that the middle petal is on top. And once that's tacked together, I'm going to use my glue gun and add a couple more dabs of glue to hold all of the flower petals together so it looks like one big petal instead of 3 separate petals. And this is going to be our cape. Now we're going to grab our little piece of fur that we've already trimmed, and I'm going to add some glue on the front and on the back of our flower petals, just in the middle, so just above that middle petal. So just a little bit of glue on the front and on the back. And then grabbing my little strip of fur, I'm going to pinch that around it so it's laying horizontally. And I'm not tacking the very edges of the fur down, I'm just securing it right in the middle over the petals, because we want the outer edges to be able to wrap around her shoulders. And then trim off any excess and add a couple more dabs of glue to pinch together those edges. And we're pressing those just together instead of over the petal. And so those edges can wrap around her shoulders. Trimming off any little pieces that were too long or kind of scraggly. And now we're going to attach the cape to our doll. So I'm going to grab my little fairy doll, and we're going to attach it right at the top of her shoulders. And then we'll be folding those 2 edges of the fur around her arms, just right up by her shoulders. So I'm going to grab a little dab of glue and put it right in the middle of the cape on the fur, and I'm going to put that right on the back of my fairy, right at the top of her shoulders. Hold that into place until the glue dries, and then I'm going to add 2 more dabs of glue, 1 on each side, and I'm going to fold over the fur so that it looks like it's wrapped around her. And if it is too long, you can go ahead and trim it a little bit here. I would rather have it too long on each side and be able to trim it than not long enough. So just a little dab of glue on each side. And then I fold that fur down and just kind of hold it in place. And here's our fairy with her cape. Then I decided to take one of the little flower petals I had for the embellishments and put it on the back of her cape. So I kind of just moved it around, decided where I wanted to put it. And then I'm going to take a dab of glue and just attach it to the back of her cape. This is totally optional. I just liked the little added bling that this gave to our little fairy doll. Then I'm going to grab the stem of the blue sparkly leaves. And I got this at Michael's, it was part of their holiday line. And I really liked these little sparkly blue leaves. They reminded me of ice and snow. And so I'm going to take one of the smallest ones, cut it off, and we're going to use this to put in our fairy's hair. So almost like a little hat. So I just trimmed it a little bit, and then I put a big dab of glue on the back of it, and I'm just going to put it on the side of her hair. And I loved the little bit of sparkle that this gave to the doll. I also liked that it matched the blue in her shoes and in her waist. And then I'm going to take my little strip of sparkly rhinestones. I'm going to cut a few of those off, and I'm going to add one dab of glue and just wrap these around her waist. And where they were stickers, they seemed to stick pretty well, but you can add glue to the entire, all around her waist if you'd like. I found these at a dollar store in their craft aisle, but I know that tons of craft stores carry these little rhinestone stickers. And that's it, guys. You have a very beautiful, sparkly winter fairy doll. I'm excited that I can use this doll to decorate during all of the winter season and not just Christmas. I love how sparkly and just wintry she ended up looking, and it's hard to pick a favorite fairy doll, but I really love how this one turned out. I also love her cape and that little bit of fur at the top of her cape. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any comments or questions, please post those below. I do my very best to answer as many questions as I can. If you have any thoughts or ideas of fairy dolls you'd like to see, please let me know below. And if you haven't checked out my other videos, please do. I have a lot of other fun fairy dolls and a lot of other Christmas decorations, terrariums, bath bombs, all sorts of fun DIY videos on my YouTube channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please do, because that would be awesome. And click on that little bell icon so you're the first to know when a new video comes out. Thanks again, you guys. We'll see you next time.